I'm the leader of Project Stockpile. You know how G. Bush gives it up. I want any and every player. No price is too great. There's a rumor out there. The Browns could potentially be a suitor for Brandon Aiyuk. But for once, I think it might be a little too steep of a price for me. I'll come back and we'll get into this episode. And the theme word of this episode is relationships count. What the heck is G. Bush talking about? You'll find out on this episode of The Ultimate Browns. Welcome to the fastest 30 minutes in all of sports. It's your boy G. Bush right here on the Ultimate Browns. I hope everybody had a great Juneteenth all over the the airwaves everywhere out there. Shout out to Kendrick Lamar. If you haven't seen it, you know. He officially has put Drake to sleep. You didn't think he was going to come get some Ultimate Browns without me saying something about this battle. If you know, you know, and if you don't, educate yourself. Kendrick Lamar had a great concert Juneteenth. I wasn't there, but the internet is abuzz about it, so I got to keep up on all that good stuff. With that being said, man, we got a great show coming up for you guys, man. Ian Rappaport, he is part of the media shift in temperature on Deshaun Watson. As this season goes along and as we get closer to training camp, as we get closer to the season, cooler heads are prevailing, and people are starting to notice that Deshaun Watson and the commentary on him is starting to change a little bit. He had a really good take and a really level-headed take. We're going to get into what he said coming up in the show later on. Andrew Berry had a lot to say. Two of the guys that are very pivotal for what the Browns want to do. Andrew Berry was on ESPN, and he talked about Nick Chubb and he talked about Amari Cooper. He talked about how much of a pillar and how much of two of those guys, and I dubbed those guys the heart and soul of what the Cleveland Browns want to do. Two guys that just go about their business. We'll talk about that contract extension, and we'll get into that. Andrew Berry, what he said in that, and we'll talk about it. Kind of wraps up with. And kind of supports why I think the way I think concerning our first topic. We talked about this on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show a couple of days ago. The Browns have been mentioning a blockbuster deal for Brandon Aiyuk. Now, how realistic is that trade? I mean, the Browns, if you want to look at it from a strategic standpoint, have the most capital to offer. They do have a first-round draft pick, and they do have a receiver in Amari Cooper that is of a caliber of a number one receiver. In the case that they didn't get a contract done, it makes kind of sense that if you look at Brandon Aiyuk and you look at Amari Cooper, the value kind of matches. But we examined this clip from the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, Mikey McNuggets, Tyvis Powell, and Jason Lloyd. How realistic is that? And would you guys be willing to give up Amari Cooper for a deal for Brandon Aiyuk? You guys put it in the comment section below what you think about this trade. Would you make the deal, and why or why not? And when I get back, we'll talk about why I would or would not make the deal coming up here next. This is a clip for the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show detailing what this would look like for a Brandon Aiyuk type deal for the Cleveland Browns.
Cleveland Browns and San Francisco 49ers could, in theory, be trade partners for Brandon Aiyuk. The 49ers have yet to commit long-term money to Brandon Aiyuk. Amari Cooper's entering the last year of his contract. The Niners don't seem keen on paying Aiyuk $30+ million a year, which is what he is apparently asking for. So, Tyvis, I'll start with you on this. If the Brandon Aiyuk rumors are a possibility, does it make sense for the Browns to try and acquire the second-team All-Pro receiver from the San Francisco 49ers?
Is it worth giving up? Is he worth maybe losing out on some defensive players? Maybe you can't pay Martin Emerson. Maybe you can't pay JOK. Like, it's certain guys that will be affected by that move. And I don't know if he's that good enough for me to give up all of those extra pieces, if that makes sense. Don't get me wrong. He's a really good player, really good wide receiver, very athletic. But I don't know if I'm willing to part ways with other key pieces on the other side of the ball for him, if that makes sense.
If I'm the Browns, I do it in a second. And I love Amari Cooper. I do that in a second.
Ayuk's better than Cooper. Let's call it spade a spade.
Yes.
He's better than Cooper.
And he's younger.
Yes. So you essentially got your offense. You got 2 wide receivers and your quarterback and your tight end for 4 years.
And you're already all in on Deshaun, so
might as well go all in.
Give him every option you can.
Now, look, listen, shout out to those guys on UCSS. And, usually you say, G. Bush, you the leader of the Kool-Aid Mafia. You want all of those guys. You want all of the picks. You the leader of forget them picks. Let me get some players that can help me right now. You want Deshaun Watson to be one of those guys that's going to be able to thrive because he has all the weapons he needs. Why in this circumstance are you not all over this Brandon Aiyuk trade? Why do you not like it? Why are you not as exuberant as we've seen you be when it comes to upgrading the Cleveland Browns? And I'm going to give you that right now. See, we talk about this a lot, right? And one of the things that we talk about is this: relationships matter. Because when you look at the relationships, right? We take a look at Deshaun Watson, we take a look at Amari Cooper. If you were to trade Cooper for Brandon Aiyuk, one of the things that you got to realize is there is no relationship right now with Deshaun Watson and Brandon Aiyuk. Not only is there no relationship with him, there is a very limited relationship with him being on the field with Elijah Moore, right? He only played 6 games, right? It's very limited with him actually playing with Elijah Moore or any of the other younger guys that weren't getting minutes. The Tillmans of the world, the David Bells of the world, the Jamari Thrash, who was a rookie. And another big elephant in the room is you don't even know, you have no experience with Jerry Jeudy. So do you want to go into a season where you have a new offensive coordinator in Dorsey? Ken Dorsey, do you want to go in with a brand new guy calling the plays, which that's probably going to happen this year? You're going to have a brand new number 2 receiver in Jerry Jeudy, who you never had any chemistry you played with. You're going to have a brand new chemistry, a limited chemistry with Elijah Moore. Now you want to swap your most experienced receiver and route runner in Amari Cooper, who's been here, who's been productive, who's a big-time member of that locker room, and you want to swap him out with Brandon Aiyuk? That's a whole lot to ask. I've never, and I dare say this, there's never been a championship caliber team that has swapped out it has started with 2 brand new targets. Their number 1 and number 2 targets were completely new people with a new quarterback and a new, it just doesn't happen. You're asking for too much for those guys to hit the ground running. Deshaun Watson barely has any chemistry with some of the guys that he already has on the roster. Now you're going to turn it over again. Now, granted, Brandon Aiyuk is a great player. I think, McNuggets talks about this a little bit as well. McNuggets goes and he talks about the fact that Brandon Aiyuk is a better player. Now, look, skill set wise, it's hard to argue with what he said. I do like Amari Cooper as a better route runner. I just trust Amari Cooper. And Amari Cooper is a guy that, for me, the stage is never too big. For me, he's a guy that I know what I'm going to get. He's going to play injured. He's going to play hurt. He's going to catch the ball when somebody is there that's a journeyman quarterback. He's also going to catch the ball when you have a franchise superstar quarterback. He just does those things. And he's the type of dude that you need in that locker room. And we talk about why relationships matter is because there is no relationship between Jerry Jeudy and Brandon Aiyuk, and you, if you brought him in for an Amari Cooper. Another thing is, I'm not a huge person on locker room chemistry. I know that you need guys in there and you need guys to like each other, and you don't need guys in there to be fighting one another. But for the most part, I'll try to hold you accountable and to be a professional player and to come do your job regardless of what's going on in the locker room. But I'll say this. There's something to be said about what they're trying to build. Andrew Berry is going to talk about that coming up a little bit with talks of Nick Chubb and what he means, and also what the Cooper deal is and what Amari Cooper brings to the locker room. But I just have to say this. The Browns are very, for the most part, they are a very high character team. And the problem that I always had with people was when they started talking about Deshaun Watson and why they couldn't rock with the Browns because of the allegations that he had. And I thought it was disrespectful to the rest of the people on the roster. If you're a fan of the team, if you're a fan of what the Cleveland Browns are, how could you say and turn your back on the organization because you don't like allegations based on one person who's coming into the organization? That don't change the way that you should feel about Amari Cooper, who's a grade A human being. Nick Chubb, grade A human being. Myles Garrett, grade A human being. Let's keep it look. Denzel Ward, grade A human being. Kevin Stefanski, grade A. Andrew Berry, grade A. Listen, these guys are dudes that do the right stuff. They talk the right way. David Njoku is an awesome guy. Like, you look across our roster, Joe Batonio, Wyatt Teller, you look across down in and look for position group to position group. The Cleveland Browns have grade A individuals for what they do in the community, right? Greg Newsom's an awesome kid, awesome guy. So when we talking about all these, how could you say you're not a Browns fan based on that when you got all the other? Did you forget about all the other guys and the great stuff that they do? So for me, Amari Cooper just personifies what they're trying to build. So for me, I look at it and say he's been super productive. He's a guy that's come in here and embraced it. He does his work. He does his job. He comes and does it. And I know Brandon Aiyuk had a great year last year. And I know Brandon Aiyuk is a top-notch guy and he's younger and you could do that. But it's something to be said for, I believe, in what Amari Cooper is going to bring to the table. I believe that he's dependable. We just had a show today that you guys on Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Bucky Brooks said that Calvin Johnson's 1,900, almost 2,000 yards. He gave 5 guys that could possibly break that this year. And guess who one of those guys was? Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper, one of the guys he thinks can get 2,000 yards in a year. That just goes to show you that it's just not character. The way people feel about Amari Cooper is on the field and off the field. Let's not forget, he does have the all-time record for receiving yards in the game. And, he's a guy that you want to look at. To me, it's just too steep. I got to turn the roster over. Yes, I know you want to get younger at other positions, but I can't have 2 new receivers trying to figure out some I can't have them trying to figure out this connection with Deshaun Watson in a pivotal season like we talking about this year. With that being said, when we get back, we're going to continue on to the conversation and continue with this theme of relationships matter. Andrew Berry talked about what type of player that Nick Chubb was and how much respect he has for him. And he goes going to talk about Amari Cooper. He left some tea leaves to make you feel like you understand where this contract is going to go and the fact that Amari Cooper should be back in the fold sooner rather than later. You're listening to the fastest 30 minutes in all of sports. It's your boy G. Bush right here on the Ultimate Browns. Let's talk about my people over at FanDuel. Well, you know what? The NBA playoffs are over. Shout out to the Celtics. NHL is playoffs are still going, and baseball is in full swing, especially with those Guardians. Hey, listen, Stephen Kwan, 400. He's flirting with 400. It's going to be a good summer. And guess what? FanDuel is your place to bet on every single one of those games. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's 150 bonus bucks, win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on an app that is safe, secure, and easy to use. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/UCSS and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Welcome back to the fastest 30 minutes in all of sports. It's your boy G. Bush, rocking and rolling right over here over at the Ultimate Browns. Make sure you continue to watch us. And fingers crossed, man, fingers crossed. We got a great opportunity. We up against some stiff competition, but the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show is nominated, Emmy nominated for an Emmy. We will be there. I'm gonna have some behind the scenes footage for you tomorrow or Saturday. We will get into that. We'll definitely, Mikey McNuggets, shout out to McNuggets. He's up for not only the group effort with the show, Mikey McNuggets is up for producer Emmy for the production as well. So shout out to the production team. Shout out to all the individuals who make, Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show what it is. And hopefully, fingers crossed, we can bring home that hardware for us in the UCSS family. We'll keep y'all posted on that coming up next week. But we want to get to some comments that Andrew Berry talked about. We got some sound here, a list of different things. And first of all, he talked about Nick Chubb. He talked about Nick Chubb and what he means to the team. And remember, boys and girls, the relationships matter. Relationships are a huge theme of this blog, and it just goes to show you how Andrew Berry values the relationships. And I think this could be a big part of what the Cleveland Browns put their hat on. This is Andrew Berry talking about Nick Chubb and what he means to the Cleveland Browns.
You know, Andrew, I was reading the comments from Nick Chubb when he met with the media, I think about a week or so ago. One of the things that really struck me was he said, you know, the Browns could have essentially cut me loose, could have just said goodbye. And he really did have an appreciation, I think, for how you guys handled this, his contractual situation. Sounds like he's doing well. What went into the decision to redo his contract and make sure that he feels like he does, honestly?
You know, I think first and foremost, when we look at any member of our organization, it's important for us not to lose sight of the fact that we're dealing with people. And what happened to Nick last year was very unfortunate. He had no desire to be anywhere besides Cleveland. We had no desire for that to be, the last snap that he would take in a Cleveland Browns jersey. And just quite honestly, he's the heartbeat and pulse of our team. He is a selfless individual. He works hard. He's obviously an outstanding ball carrier, an outstanding running back. And I said this at the end of my end of season press conference. I had coming into the year, I had a respect level for Nick Chubb. It was a 10 out of 10, and exiting the season, it was probably a 20 out of 10 because this was a person who came in every day, 5:30 a.m., doing his rehab modalities, working as if he was preparing for Sunday. And I think that says something, about him individually and as a professional. And, one of the moments that we're all most looking forward to is the first time he runs out of that home tunnel for his debut in the 2024 season. So we're really excited to have him back and can't wait to get going with him.
You know, that was Andrew Berry talking about Nick Chubb, and I have more respect for him now than I did prior to the injury because I see the way he works. I see the way he comes in at 5:30 and what he means to the team. And one of the main themes that we talk about with relationships is, a person on their own may not mean much in the terms of the impact that they have. But when you start putting together building blocks with guys who fit into different pieces and parts and have that level of character and that work ethic, when you put a guy like Amari Cooper, when you put a guy like that guy with a Nick Chubb, think about the way your offense is going to run. Not just from the X's and O's, but from a standpoint of how we go about holding each other accountable, the level of character in that offense. When they call that play in and you're sitting in that huddle and your number's not called, those guys are going to still work as hard as they can to get other people involved. They're going to block. They're going to make sure pass protection is correct. They're going to run their routes hard backside. They're going to make sure that they do the small little things. They're going to keep running downfield to try to get a downfield block. They're going to keep following the play just in case somebody fumbles, and they could be right there to jump on the ball and still retain that possession. They're going to fight for those extra yards. They're going to do all those little things, and it's the building blocks, right? The people, when you build an organization, you build the organization with people, not salary cap, not structure. You build it with people's personalities and with their characteristics. And so when we talk about sometimes you don't pay a running back that much money, I used to get so upset when people say, hey, you don't pay a running back. That's just not no regular old running back. That is Nick Chubb. And what Nick Chubb means to your locker room and means to the example that he sets every single day is something that's going to trickle down to your young guys. It's going to trickle down to the veterans, and it's going to put that added fire, that log on the fire on that grill to get things moving. And you add those pieces together, and you end up with a very special locker room and special organization. I've always said it. It is time for the Cleveland Browns to start doing right by their players. One of the things that I saw, no matter what, in Pittsburgh, I saw the way they treated Troy Polamalu. I see the way they treated Hines Ward and Ben Roethlisberger. I saw the way that the Baltimore Ravens treated Jonathan Ogden and Ray Lewis and Ed Reed and guys like that and Terrell Suggs. I saw the way they embraced those players. When you are playing for those organizations, when you are done, they don't never make you available to nobody else. You are a Baltimore Raven or a Pittsburgh Steeler the same way they're going to do TJ Watt and Hayward. They're going to make sure that people understand These are our champions. These are the guys that we gonna hang our hat on. And these are the guys that are going to be acknowledged and cherished in our organization. And for so many years, we had bottom feeders, guys that was at the end of contracts coming over here, cashing checks, not putting no work in, just giving that bare minimum, coming over to Cleveland, the Dwayne Bowes of the world, coming over here, Willie McGinnis the last couple of years. We get all these guys that's coming over here, cashing these checks, not bringing nothing to the table, and yet and still, we want to say, well, he's just a running back. We could go with Jerome Ford. I would be damned if we go with just Jerome Ford, and that's going to be good enough. No disrespect to Jerome Ford. I'm just bigging up how much it's a disservice to a dude like Nick Chubb. He kept going. He talked about not only what Nick Chubb meant, but he also talked with Amari Cooper and his contract situation. They asked him point blank, man, what's going on with Amari Cooper? And this should tell you how much they value Amari Cooper, which goes to show me, it leads me to think they're not interested in the Brandon Aiyuk deal either, because Amari Cooper is bringing extra to the table besides what he does on just the field.
All right, we're going to stay on the contract theme here and go with the contract that's a little bit in question. Amari Cooper, who was not around in the last few weeks, obviously wants a contract. Today's his birthday. Happy birthday, Amari Cooper. Where do things stand on maybe the birthday present Amari Cooper would like most?
Yeah, so, I'll say first and foremost, Judy, I've been a high-level Pro Bowl caliber receiver, but he's also a great teammate, and he's a great professional. And we're happy to have him as a member of the organization. Sometimes, all teams will have periods where they go through these type of situations, but it does not change our affinity for Amari. We'll navigate, call it the business considerations and the business aspects as it goes. But he is a big part of our team, and just as importantly, he's a big part of our culture.
I think he added that right there. Just as importantly, not only what he goes on the field, he gives you something different in the organization. Remember, I just showed you building blocks with different pieces and parts that fit together that make who you want to be, man. When you talk about it, when I was in management, one of the big things they talked about is the motivation and recognition of different employees, right? And so one of the things that I like to always look at is, let's take it to a human standpoint. Relationships matter. And part of your relationship is acknowledging the contributions of what those individuals mean to your specific organization. So you look at this right here, you may think this is something that's out of a job manual, but these are things that management and managers and organizations in sports need to do a better job of. Those people who absolutely foster relationships with their superstars as well as their role players, they have all kind of great things that go into why those players and why those teams win championships. So what are the benefits of staff motivation? So one of the things you're going to get when you get motivated people, and Amari Cooper and Nick Chubb are going to help motivate those other people because they see, hey, when you do well, we take care of our guys. Yeah, Nick Chubb got hurt last year, but guess what? We're going to still make sure that he's on his team and he's going to get paid. Amari Cooper went out and put up those numbers with bad quarterbacks. Guess what? We're going to make sure that we reward him. So what are the benefits of motivation? You get higher productivity levels. It comes as no surprise that implementing employee motivation techniques encourages people to work productively, and the results are better with revenue outcomes, right? However, not many people know that a productive way of working also positively influences employees' experience as it promotes higher job satisfaction. We want guys out there that want to put that jersey on. We want guys that want to go out there and play hard for the Cleveland Browns, right? That satisfaction is part of the reason why at the end of the year when we watched those Jets game with Joe Flacco, it was electric in the stadium because guys were out there playing their butts off. And even when it looked like all the chips were down, we still had guys coming up, stepping up, making plays so we could get to the playoffs, right? More innovation, motivating employees with rewards and other benefits grows a culture of innovation. When employees feel appreciated and supported by their organization, they want to challenge themselves. Consequently, the importance of motivation in the workplace should never be underestimated as it stimulates growth. Moreover, managers who recognize the benefits and motivate their teams often see the best results. So, it's just not about X's and O's, right? They go on to say in this article as well, you have lower levels of absenteeism. You think guys want to play when they're banged up in January and December, right? When you guys have a good organization, guys are going to suit it up 9 times out of 10 and tough it out. Lower levels of staff turnover. The Browns have done a great job of keeping guys in their staff, right? They did have some staff turnover, but they had some staff turnover in the midst of winning. Now they're upgrading, raising the level of expectations. You lose some people, but you come in and you plug and play guys that you think are going to bring you in to take you to the next level, right? And great reputation and stronger recruitment of your organization. That's a big part of it. How are the Cleveland Browns able to bring in some of these free agents? How do people view the Cleveland Browns? Some of the people like Zadarius Smith wanted to come back. Maurice Hurst wanted to come back, right? Those individuals came back because they felt positively about the Browns organization and where they was going. So when you talk about motivation and you talk about all of these different things, and we talk about it, relationships matter in this thing. And what Andrew Berry is speaking specifically about is, yes, those players are great out in the field, which is going to give the organization something, but our relationships with our players are going to help us retain players, play better, recruit people, and have a better overall feeling about our organization. And those things translate into wins and losses at the end of the day. And when we get back, I'll tell you what, time flies when you're having a great time. When we get back, we got one more segment to go. When we get back, we talk about Ian Rappaport. Finally, somebody had a halfway decent take about Deshaun Watson. Finally, somebody is getting real about what Deshaun Watson did last year. All this talk about he was garbage, he was terrible. If you go back and watch the tape, was he all that bad? Or was that a talking point? We'll get to that coming up next. It's G. Bush right here on the Ultimate Browns. Hey, man, don't forget it. Don't forget it. UCSS got the biggest and best content in the game. Every single Monday, Ultimate Guardians is right here on the UCSS network. The first place Guardians, 20 games over first place. Big time series coming up this weekend. Make sure you get down there if you're a big Guardians fan. Adam the Bull, Zach Meisel every single Monday. Tuesday, guess what? We got Jason Lloyd of The Athletic and Mikey McNuggets, Emmy-nominated Mikey McNuggets, Ultimate Cavaliers. Where are they getting – when we going to get the announcement from a coach? We ain't got a coach yet. If you want to keep up to all the date the coaching search, make sure you find Ultimate Cavaliers every single Tuesday. Earl the Pearl. Right here, every Thursday on the Ultimate 216. It's a mix of sports and culture. Make sure you check him out. He's on every single Thursday. And then you got the big dog, the big homie, the most electrifying of all time, G. Bush in the seat. Every single Monday and Friday, I do the most because I'm the biggest host. You know what it is, Ultimate Browns. Make sure you check that out. Make sure you get our videos on demand. Make sure you subscribe to the channels. And make sure you continuously make UCSS a very, very vital part of your everyday listening habits. We back at it. Fastest 30 minutes in all the sports. Ian Rappaport. I told you guys, the shift is coming. The shift is happening when the talking points start wearing off. See, when you're early in the offseason, everybody looking for storylines. Everybody looking for stories. But when you start to go back and look at the film, you start to actually really get into it. People are starting to be more and more realistic about what Deshaun Watson did last year and what he's going to look like this year. Ian Rappaport, and this is courtesy of my people over there at Sports for CLE. Shout out to them over there. Make sure you subscribe to that channel. Great Browns content, Guardians all the way around. Make sure you check those guys out. But he's on. Ian Rappaport is talking about, Deshaun Watson. He expects him to be a lot better. And for the sounds of what he's saying, it don't look like he still thinks that Deshaun Watson played horrible all them games.
Time has kind of moved on. He's gone down the quarterback ranking for highest paid. Now the 8th highest paid quarterback. So not a bargain by any means, but certainly not as crazy expensive as it was. As far as the fully guaranteed deal, quarterbacks almost never get cut. They actually get traded. So it's not like that if something terrible happened, the contract would stand in the way. But here's the other caveat. Before he got hurt last year, before he had that very strange shoulder injury that he actually played through, let it come back during, and then had surgery ending his season afterward, he was playing really well. He was showing signs of being that quarterback that they traded for, being that franchise superstar guy. It sounds like his rehab has gone well. It sounds like, if anything, they've had to pull him back. I expect him to be like his old self in training camp and finally pay off that big-time contract that the Browns gave him.
Listen, and shout out to Sports for CLE. That clip was courtesy of them. And I'm going to tell you what, Ian Rappaport, out of all of the people, Rich Eisen has started to slowly but surely come around. You start to see guys like Ian Rappaport slowly but surely kind of like tiptoeing around and putting their foot in the water and testing it out. But the reality of it is, you go back and watch, and by the way, I've always done this. I've watched every single snap Deshaun Watson has taken 4 times. See, I actually be doing the work. I actually be up in the hot tub time machine just looking, just like, okay, well, and when you go back and watch these plays, there are some throws that he wants back, but overall, this notion that he played the worst football people have ever seen is completely false. That is hyperbole. It is not like that. And you just heard him say it. When you take a look at it, he was playing his best football against the Baltimore Ravens on the road. He was 5-1 when he started. And you go back and watch some of these games. He played very well against the Cardinals, played very well against the Tennessee Titans, played very well against the Baltimore Ravens. You take a look at these games, and people are saying it's the worst he's ever played and blah, blah. Listen, come on, man. Are you taking the talking points or are you really looking at it? Because when you go back and look, he did not play that bad. Is he up to the expectation levels of what we're talking about? Is he up to the expectation levels of where he was before with Houston? No. But I think he's saying here is he's trending towards that way. He's trending towards there. Right now, Deshaun Watson, he said it earlier, it was a Freudian slip. The team got on him and said, listen, no, I'm be here. Listen, we want to under promise and over deliver. Right, we want to really dial that back a little bit, because Deshaun Watson said, "Oh, I'm ready to go game 1. I'm ready to go." They said, "We're not going to do that. Just take it easy, big fella." When you watch him in practice, he's throwing the ball. He's ready to go. He's ahead of schedule. He does not have any pain in the shoulder. So with that being said, you expect him to be fully ready to go, fully healthy, ready to get it jumping. And once again, one of the things that we talk about is relationships matter, right? Relationships sure do matter. You say, dang, boy, this boy G. Bush, man. What you mean? How does this apply with Deshaun Watson? Well, here's the thing. The reason Deshaun Watson doesn't get the benefit of the doubt in his timetable is sped up, is all based on relationships. You have to look at the lack of relationships and the endearment between the Cleveland Browns fan base and Deshaun Watson. The reason we have not given him that benefit of the doubt, such as we give to Baker or guys that you drafted, is because he wasn't homegrown here. We didn't draft him. We went out and made made a trade for him, and he has not delivered the level of dividends. Right? It's the wins and losses. How many exciting wins has he give you? How many comeback wins has he given you in Cleveland Browns Stadium? How many blowout wins has he given you in Cleveland Browns Stadiums? How many AFC championship games have he given you? How many 4 or 5 touchdown games has he given you? How many? You see what I'm saying? It's just the relationship ain't there. Look, I'm going to just tell you like this, man. Listen, I had a K-1 visa, man. K-1 visa means you got to marry 90-day fiance. That was me. I met my wife. I proposed while I was in Manila. She's from the Philippines. Shout out to her. Guess what? We had one date. We had a couple of dates. Then guess what? I had to come back to the United States, continue my job, and start the K-1 visa process. Now, the K-1 visa process usually takes, we got to the first part, but we happen to have a thing called COVID. So the whole world was shut down. So for the time period that I went and proposed, started our paperwork, it was 2 years by the next time I saw her. Now, if I'm living with somebody and I'm every day around them and everything, I can have arguments, right? We can have, disputes because I see you, we can make up, everything's cool. But it's a little bit different when you ain't got that relationship, that basis. You ain't got a base. You ain't been on dates. You ain't had your first argument, and you only seen them like 5 times. Matter of fact, you don't even know kind of what they look like, really, if it wasn't for the technology. Relationships matter. So it's easier for guys to get along when you're right in the same proximity. It's easier when you got that relationship in bases, right? You can get over small stuff. You can get over that, right? But if you ain't got none of that basis, if you ain't got none of that stuff that keep you together, that experience, the hard times, the good times, the bad times, all of the years and time put into the relationship, regular stupid conversations and dumb arguments can derail your whole relationship. Same thing with Deshaun Watson. We was up and down with Baker. We was up and down with Colt McCoy. We was up and down with Derek Anderson, Brady Quinn, all them guys on the back of the jersey. You've seen it, Tim Couch. We had history with them because we started off, we met them on a dating app, and we eventually married them by drafting them. But here's the thing. We gave those guys the benefit of the doubt and time to get it done because we had the relationship. We had that. Deshaun doesn't have that. But I will say this. The great thing about relationships, time is the all great equalizer in life. Time helps you get over and heal old wounds, tragedies, losing people. Time also gives you an opportunity to build and reconstruct faith and trust in people once they broke your trust. And so when you got Deshaun Watson, he has an opportunity with time, energy, effort, and playing football correctly and playing football and giving us those moments, those memories. Even Facebook understand that. Look how what keep you on Facebook. They notice that, hey, let's throw some memories up there to show you, hey, this is what you was doing in 2005 or in 2006 and 2010 and 2015. You're like, wow, man, that's crazy. I've been on this app that many years. Yeah, look how many people you done came and gone. Look how many girlfriends that go, hey, you might have had kids by then. You got married, had kids, got a new house, and they gave you all those pictures. Those things build history and memory with you. So that's why you stay on Facebook. Even though you may not think it's the greatest app in the world, everybody keeps it. Why? Because it's history. It's history involved. So Deshaun Watson, all you got to do is give us some memories. Let's start making them. How's about game 1 against the Dallas Cowboys? Right? How's about that? And history is a funny thing. Time heals all wounds, right? Even the national media is starting to come around. Last year, they didn't want us on TV. First game, we got the Cowboys in Cleveland. They could have went a lot of other directions. You know what that tells me? Time is healing stuff. You know, for a while, those Cleveland Browns, people was picking them to come in last in every single poll he created. You know why? Because people didn't like Deshaun Watson. It was fresh, and they didn't want nothing to do with the Cleveland Browns. Now, starting to see people like Ian Rappaport get real about the situation. You're seeing guys like Rich Eisen start to get real about what was happening on the field and what's to look forward to. So, you know, when we talk about it, time is the great equalizer, right? And it's time for Deshaun Watson to start building those relationships. If he builds that relationships and give us great memories by coming out here and leading a game-winning drive against the Dallas Cowboys, or coming out here giving us 4 or 5 touchdowns, giving us coming from behind wins, giving us those big 40-point games, giving us those electric moves in the pocket, moving, dipping, diving, not letting people sack them, extending plays, throwing the ball. Listen, come on. Those memories will keep people endeared, and those memories will establish a relationship. So when adversity does hit, you have something to cash in and say, remember that one time though? Remember when remember that? I'm playing bad, but you can always remember. And I gave you memories when you know that this is just a little blip on the radar. We can continue to get this done. With that being said, it's the fastest 30 minutes in all the sports, man. You know what it is. When you get going, we start having the conversations. You go a little long. But with that being said, it don't matter. It's all right, good, man. It's cool. Weekend's coming up. Hopefully, we bring home this crown. We bring home this jewelry. We bring home this award at the Emmys. And for everybody out there, make sure you get out there to the Progressive Field. Guardians is rolling. And stay safe and there's a heat wave out here. I ain't going outside. I'm going to be inside with the AC on. There's AC on right now, and I'm still sweating. You see it. With that being said, you never know where G-Bush going to be. Radio, television, internet. You see back behind me. The barbershop is always open, and I always keep my clippers. And if you want to know where you can find me, listen to those Clippers. Have a great and happy weekend, and go Browns.